Biology Part 201. Fertilization. Pollination is the only first step in the process of sexual reproduction. In contrast to the sperm cells of less advanced plant, the male gametes contained within the pollen grains are non-motile and do not require external water to reach the female gamete. They are transported by the embryo sac through an outgrowth of the pollen grain called a pollen tube, which penetrates the tissues of the stigma, style, ovary, wall, and ovule. The pollen tube starts as an outgrowth of the intine, which emerges through a pore in the exine. Energy for its germination is supplied initially from food reserves within the pollen grain. Later, the pollen tube secretes enzymes which digest the surrounding cells of the style and ovary to provide the nutrients needed for growth. This activity is controlled by the pollen tube nucleus, present in the advancing tip of the pollen tube. The pollen tube eventually breaks into the cavity of the ovary and enters an ovule, usually through the micropyle. The pollen tube nucleus and the two male gametes are released. One of the male gametes then fuses with the nucleus of the ovum to form the diploid zygote, which will subsequently become a new plant embryo. The pollen tube nucleus degenerates, but the second unsuccessful male gamete does not. Instead, it migrates to the center of the embryo sac, where it fuses with the two polar nuclei to form the triploid endosperm nucleus. This completes a process of double fertilization unique to the flowering plants, in which both male nuclei are used. We can see it in the figure as well. The development of seeds and fruit. After the fertilization, the ovule develops to form a seed. In this process, the embryo enlarges, forming the embryo shoot or plumule and the embryo root or radicle. In the seed of the monocotyledons, as their name suggests, that embryo gives rise to the single seed leaf or cotyledon, which in the dicotyledon, two seeds leaves are formed in the endospermous seeds, including castor oil and maize seeds. The endosperm nucleus divides repeatedly by the mitosis to form the endosperm tissue, consisting of large food storage cells. These accumulate food translocated by the vascular strands of the funicle and swell to surround the young embryo, filling the space between the integument's and the remnants of the embryo sac. In other seeds called the endospermous seeds, like the broad bean, the cytoledons are the major storage region and the development of endosperm. The endosperm tissue is very limited, and the outer seed coat is formed from the integuments and consists of a tough outer layer. The testa and the slightly softer inner layer called the tegumen. As the seeds mature, the ovary swells to accommodate them, forming a fruit. In case of a broad bean, this is a long pod called the legume. Dispersal of the seed is affected when the ovary wall, now referred to as the pericarp, dries and splits along its two sides. The broad bean belongs to a large family of legume-producing plants called the leguminose sac. However, as a prop plant, the product of the intense genetic selection, its fruit is far too large for the effective dispersal of its seeds. More typical of the group are clever veg-goers, hupin plants, whose seeds are flicked out from the pod as its walls dry out and spring back. Dispersal of seeds.